Africa in 10 minutes. Stay tuned as we bring to you the top business stories reported on Footprint Africa this week. I'm Chiamaka J. Uwadoka, and these are the headlines. The Rand holds up against strengthening dollar. The Director General of SMIDAN lauds Footprint Africa initiative on SME development. Bank of Industry signs Memorandum of Understanding with EcoBank. South Africa Lesotho Investment Promotion Agencies recognized by UNCTAD. Algeria Indonesia signed $4.5 billion agreement. African startups set for continental launch. Nigeria woos agric investors with personal and asset security. Bill Gates Foundation invests $5 billion in Africa. The African Union Commission states that African economies are growing despite headwinds. Ghana's FPSO John Evans Atta Mills produce oil. Ethiopian Airlines wins awards. And Foreign Affairs Minister states that the African Union passport would spur intra-African trade. And now, the news in detail. The South African Rand has held up in the face of a strong dollar on global markets. According to the chief currency dealer at Bidvest Bank, the Rand is steadily trading despite the global market's volatility in recent months. Analysts believe that the strength of the Rand is primarily being drawn from investor appetite for higher-yielding currencies. In other news, Dr. Diko Umaru Rada, the Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMIDAN, lauded the ongoing initiatives of Footprint Africa towards SME development. A delegation of SMIDAN paid a courtesy call to Footprint Africa, where the DG commended the organization's commitment to developing the SME sector. It will be recalled that SMIDAN and Footprint Africa recently signed an agreement to foster the development of small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. In the financial sector, the Bank of Industry has signed an agreement with EcoBank Transnational Incorporation. This is in a bid to boost financial inclusion, as well as access to funding and business support for micro, small and medium entrepreneurs in the country. Both partners have already leveraged on technology to drive access to their services, and this partnership will further deepen penetration of financial services. In investment news, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has honored the investment promotion agencies from South Africa and Lesotho with the Investment Promotion Awards for their work in attracting investment, a key ingredient for achieving sustainable development goals. An Algerian company and Indonesia's Indorama Corporation have signed 3 accords to invest $4.5 billion in phosphate mining as the North African state aims to consolidate its position in the industry. The deal signed will cover the fertilizer needs of Algerian agriculture and allow for excess production to be exported. In tech news, Demo Africa, an initiative that aims to connect African startups to the global tech ecosystem, is set for its 2016 conference to be held at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. The conference is slated for the 25th and 26th of August and is expected to attract venture capitalists, angel investors, investment fund managers, tech buyers and media from across the world. In a bid to attract investors to its agricultural sector, the government of Nigeria has said that it has taken new measures to raise the level of security in the country to safeguard investors and the large farms across the country. This is to assure investors of adequate protection for them and their investment assets. The co-founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, has pledged to invest $5 billion in Africa over the next 5 years through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He said that the foundation has already invested more than $9 billion in Africa, and he stated that healthcare is a major focus for investment. In foreign affairs, the African Union Commission, AUC, has called on African leaders to sustain the hope and economic confidence which the continent is gaining despite headwinds. Dr. Zuma, the outgoing chairperson of the AUC, noted that efforts have been directed towards building a continent that is integrated, peaceful and prosperous. She, however, stressed that Africa must take charge of its development, including the financing of its development. In oil and gas, John Evans Atta Mills, a Ghanaian offshore oil and gas company, will begin oil production in the first week of August. The floating production, storage and offloading unit boasts a length of 350 meters. It has a nominal oil production capacity of 80,000 barrels per day and a storage capacity of 1.7 million barrels. In aviation news, Ethiopian Airlines has won the Skytrax World Airline Award as the best airline staff in Africa this week. Ethiopian Airlines is the fastest growing airline in East Africa and is also a pacesetter for technological advancement. The airline has won the award twice at the Farnborough Air Show in Hampshire, England. And finally this week, Rwanda's Foreign Minister Louis Mushikiwabo has stated that the issuance of the African passport is among the African Strategic Initiative intended to come as a possible rescue to disband all the restrictions to move, which will eventually create a conducive environment for Africans to trade with each other. She also said that the free movement of people in Africa will spur economic growth. That wraps up this week's top stories. We'll be back with a recap of the headlines. The Rand holds up against strengthening dollar. The Director General of SMIDAN lauds Footprint Africa initiative on SME development. Bank of Industry signs Memorandum of Understanding with EcoBank. South Africa Lesotho Investment Promotion Agency recognized by UNCTAD. Algeria Indonesia signed $4.5 billion agreement. African startup set for continental launch. Nigeria woos agric investors with personal and asset security. Bill Gates Foundation invests $5 billion in Africa. The African Union Commission states that African economies are growing despite headwinds. Ghana's FPSO John Evans Atta Mills produce oil. Ethiopian Airlines wins awards. And Foreign Affairs Minister states that the African Union passport would spur intra-African trade. To keep up with the trending business news of the week, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. These news and reports are called From Footprint to Africa. For daily updates and more business news in Africa, visit www.footprintafrica.com today. Footprint Africa, business news made in Africa by Africans.